Some people believe that children are unable to understand what's going on around them, but that was not true for me. Before the age of 10, I'd heard enough words from my parents' conversations that made me understand. Our family was not alone. On a day when the men had come to our house to take my father away, after my mother told me to go back to my room, I instead hid at the top of the stairs, listening to my mother's words. "I can't handle it anymore. It's going to kill him," she said. In the following week, when my father came back home, I had asked him, "What is it?" But he asked me where I heard about such things, and then he told me never to talk about it. "It doesn't even exist anymore," he said. But I knew it was there. I could feel its presence. One day, when I was visiting my grandparents, my grandfather took me aside, and when he knelt down and squeezed my shoulders with his large hands, he looked deep into the center of my eyes and said, "I know you can sense it. It's been following our family for more than 3 generations. Don't let it in, or it will take you away, too." With his grip on my shoulders tightening, he said, "One day it will come for you when you are weak and alone. It will fill you with lies, and it will tell you it loves you, and you will want to go with it, but don't. You keep moving, and you don't let it in. Do you hear me?" And with one big shake of my shoulders, he let go and walked away. At first, it was just a faint feeling, like when my skin cooled and the little hairs on my arms rose. It felt as if something was there, maybe just a light wind at first, or a shadow in a corner. But when the temperament of my house filled with rage, I could feel its presence like a person standing behind me. But when I would turn around and look, there was never anyone there. In my early years, it did not show itself, and it did not appear in my drawings. Instead, I drew pictures of my mom and my dad and my little brother who came a year after me. I drew about swimming, playing in a box, eating pizza. I drew about playing hopscotch and of becoming a teacher one day. On the morning of my 11th birthday, my mother came into my room and sat on the edge of my bed. "I have a gift for you," and she handed me my first locket journal. "This is your secret place to write and draw the things you feel. No one else will ever see it. It will help keep away the things that try and take you away. I can see your tender heart, dear daughter, the way you care for the world, but this makes you vulnerable to feel everything, even the pain of others. That pain will get into you and infect your bones, and when you are weak, it will come for you. You must write and draw and keep it away." I felt perplexed. I took the journal and I wrote. Sometimes it was about my favorite fish dying, and other times about how I felt alone and sad when my best friend moved away. But all the while, it was watching me, and it was reading what I wrote. And when it saw its chance, when I had come home from school one day with my hair pulled out and a bruise across my face, it had whispered to me for the first time, "You are not alone. I am here. I have always been here. Just call for me and I will come. I will take you away from this place and you will never feel pain again." But I didn't call for it, and instead I picked up my journal and I wrote about the bully. As time went on, it began to change, and by the time I was 18, his voice had become louder than mine. And when the painful things came, it would still take me away, but it would need more and more from me each time. It started to tell me it was hungry, that it needed to be filled, and when I wouldn't feed it, it no longer promised to make me feel praised and pretty, thin and envied. Instead, when the painful things came, it told me I was ugly and stupid. And it would open me up and let the painful things in. It would watch me suffer until I begged for it to come back. And when it did, It told me, I will take your pain away, but you have to give me more. And so I placed my trembling hand over my heart and I said, I'll give you all I have, all my joy and happiness, all that I was and all that I could be. I am yours now. In the beginning, it only came to me when I called for it, when I needed its help. When my first boyfriend broke up with me and told me I wasn't enough, it was there comforting me, taking away my loneliness and pain. In return, it only asked for small things like skipping one meal or running around the block in the late nights after I ate. In return, it made others praise me. You look so strong. You look thin. Wow, you are getting fit. It told me I was successful and that in its hold, nothing could hurt me. It promised that when the pain came, it would hide me from it, and it would always make sure I was safe. It told me the more I gave it, the more it could protect me, and it promised to make me pretty and strong, thin and envied. And if I ever tried to deny its gifts, it would whisper to me, you are nothing without me. The day I called for it, I could hear the footsteps coming up the stairs towards my bedroom. I quickly ran to my door and I slammed it shut, and then I turned around and slid my back down it. I pressed my feet hard against the adjacent wall, and I tensed my muscles, and I prepared for him. I held that door shut with all the might of my 14-year-old body. I calmed my breathing until it couldn't be heard, and then, when the light under my door disappeared, I knew he was there. The first push came, and the top of the door cracked and bent over me. His hand reached in, flailing without sight, trying to grab hold of any part of me he could. That's when I called for it. That's when I asked it to help me. When I knew I could not hold that door closed. And that's when it came for me. I am here, it said. And then it touched me, and for the first time I felt nothing. And it told me, you are safe now. My mother would come to me in the times after it came, but I could barely hear her anymore. I felt resentful and angry with her for hiding in her room when the house was full of anger. At the age of 16, when she came to me to tell me a dream she had had, I instead stood there unmoving. It had wrapped its arms around me and held me above the ground, and it told my mother I did not need her anymore, while it whispered to me, only I can help you. But I lingered there, and from a distance I heard my mother's voice, her telling me her dream. And when it wasn't looking, I wrote her dream down in the locket journal she had given me at the age of 11. The more I gave it, the stronger it got. It would come to me now, even when I did not call it. I felt it eating away at me, but slowly at first, and when I started to see the holes in me, those places where I no longer existed, it told me, I am just protecting you, trust me. Once when someone told me I was special and that one day I would do great things, it too was there listening to what was said, and it told me how people lie, and how people say those things trying to help helpless things. And it told me, no one will ever get anything special from an unlovable girl like you. Only I can protect and love you. And so more and more I gave to it, and slowly I started to disappear under its protection. At the age of 18, when I thought I could move away from it, when I had packed my things and left my parents' house, it had followed me. I hadn't realized at first. Initially, it let me believe I was actually okay without it, but when I went out into the world, I heard its voice. It was in the magazines I picked up, the commercials I saw, it was on the food labels I read. It told me I was not enough and I never would be, and that no one would love me the way I am. It told me I was broken and ugly, deformed and fat, disgusting, but it promised me it would never leave me, that only it would ever stay with someone like me. And it made me pick at my skin until it bled. It told me I was too gross to be seen anymore, and it told my friends to go away. It said that from now on, it will make all our decisions, and that I will give it whatever it asks. 10 years now, and the more it took, the more it wanted. Once upon a time, it had only asked for me to skip a meal, but now it was asking me to constantly fill it, but nothing was ever enough. No amount ever enough. I would fill and release, and then it would ask for more. It would punch me in the stomach and demand from me, more, 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 give me more, or I will make you feel. At times when we went out, it would open me up. It would make me feel everyone's pain just to remind me how much I needed it. The things in the world that used to be easy had become painful and difficult. It had protected me and hidden me for so long now that I no longer knew who I was without it. It had become my lover and my best friend, and the reason I wanted to live and sometimes die. Then came a day when I thought we had died, when we had passed out on the bathroom floor. I looked out from behind it, and when it wasn't looking, I escaped for a moment, and that's when I wrote the letter. "You are such an idiot. You should not have told anyone about me. You need to get out of here." That's what it said. "They'll take me away, and they're going to make you fat. And then you will have nothing, not even me. No one wants to hear you. You talk too much. You are stupid and gross and ugly and deformed, unlovable and disgusting. You are helpless and you cannot be fixed. There will always be something wrong with you, and you will never be enough. You need to leave now." And that's when I realized it could not live without me. And so I sat there on the doctor's table, waiting for them, while it panicked and yelled at me. I was weak and exhausted, for I had nothing left, and I could barely tell it no, so I told it to just wait, and I promised I would not let them take it away. It stayed with me during the 6 months we were there, but this time it was scared, and I was protecting it. It was hiding behind me, and I felt as if I was protecting a child that had lied to me for so many years. Yet I had needed that child, and I had promised it that I would not let them take it away. They asked, "When did it first come to you? Was it always in your family?" They told me, "It will kill you." But it told me not to trust them, that how could they know anything about it when it had always been with me? But sometimes they would ask about things I'd forgotten to think about, like when they asked me what life was like before it came. And that's when I took out my colored pencils and I drew my little girl's room. And that's when I realized for the first time that when I was drawing, it could not talk to me. When I drew, it was like magic. Its voice was gone, and all it had taken from me spilled out of those pencils into drawings. And that's when I saw it for the first time. It had showed me its ugliness and all the things it had hidden from me, all the sadness and pain it had protected me from. And I realized that all this time, when it kept me from feeling pain, it was also keeping me from feeling anything at all. It made it all I needed, and I no longer could feel love, friendship, safety, and caring for myself and others. I realized I didn't want it anymore, but that I loved it for all it did for me. And I cried at the thought of losing it, and I asked, "What will I be without it?" And I was told, "Do the work, and you will see." The world tells me I'm not okay, that who I am is wrong in some way. The messages I hear, be better, be more, and that everything I need I can get at the store. There is a better version of me, I just have to change who I am, what I want, what I see every day. Buy this, fix that, we know what you need, change and remold, you'll be envied. Then when I change all the things about me, the world then changes the messages I see. So I try to change again, but nothing is free, and I paid with all I had, and I went and lost me.
You're nothing. Ugly. You're stupid. Hate you.
When we left there, it was so angry with me, and it went into a rage, and it told me I was deformed and disgusting, and it told me to shut up, and it told me never talk about it again. At first, it punished me for writing the letter, and it broke my pencils, and it wouldn't let me eat. But this time, I had a tool to make it go away, at least for small moments. And when I pulled out my drawing book and my new colored pencils, not only did it get quiet, but soon I started to hear another voice. Faint at first, but she said things like, maybe you are okay exactly the way you are. Maybe you are lovable. Maybe you do have something to give the world. It was still there, but the more I drew, the more I heard her voice. And soon she began to talk to me, even when I was not drawing. And on a day when I thought that it was actually gone, I had gone out shopping, but its voice started to come back. A whisper at first, and then louder and louder, and it tried to tell me I was fat and it was stupid. But then the other voice came, and she said to me, "You're not alone. You've always been here. Keep doing the work and you'll be okay.
You will learn. You will grow. Move through the ugly feelings. You are a wonderful
We had been
human
together for so long now, and I was trying to separate us, but I couldn't figure out where I began and it ended. I felt as if it had consumed me, and it had taken me over, and now I saw the world only through its eyes. And when it told me that it was afraid that I might not need it one day, I mourned at the idea of losing it. And when I asked it, "Who am I without you?" it didn't answer me. And instead I heard the other voice, and she asked me, "How many times has it stuffed you closed? How many friends have left? Do you want to remain broken? Is this the lifetime you will choose to be the person you are meant to be? Every day you wake up and you plan to be okay, but then you do it again. Your neck is swollen, your voice is cracked and sore, your eyes have broken vessels, your teeth hurt, your bones hurt. And I know it hurts to be you, but you is all you have. No one is going to rescue you, so you have to get on your own horse and rescue yourself. If you want different, you have to do different. And sometimes you might have to move through ugly feelings. And sometimes you might have to sit on your hands and wait. Do the work. If you don't do the work, when you get to the finish line, you won't be able to stay there. For now, you need to trust that no one is trying to hurt you, that maybe right now, others know what's best for you. I am the frozen girl who looks up at me, outside myself watching the girl I used to be. A moment in time, frozen in fear, numb with the pain and shame I keep near. She is safe in a place where no one can see, preserved in a time, but not truly free. Do I let her thaw? Do I have this choice? Is her potential there? Will I find her voice? Will she come to be the woman I see? Do I let go of the unknown? Do I dare become me? If I let her pain melt, will it really go away? Or will it just spill out and drown me away? I am afraid to let go, but I know I cannot stay frozen in a place where I will eventually decay. The frozen girl who looks up at me, a moment in time, but not truly free. Will you guide her and help her to see the person in the world that she's meant to be? Freezing myself by the things I say, the chatter in my mind that won't go away. I tell myself I am wrong, and I insist that I should just disappear and no longer exist. I'm told to try, say nice things in my mind, that if I said these things to others, I would be unkind. They tell me to find that little voice inside, that place in me that might believe. So I try and say, I am enough, I am good, pretty smart in some way. But the negative things just combat all the things I don't believe. There's no positive chat that will help me deceive. That truth I tell myself, that reality I see, that I am never enough and I shouldn't be. If there's something you can say to help it go away, to help me find myself, defrost in a way, please help me to hear that little voice inside, that voice without fear, that me I hide.